Okay, so imagine this. You're watching a soccer match, and one team's down by 2 goals at halftime. Fans are quiet, like they've already given up hope, but then, bam, they come back and win 4-2. Crazy, right? Well, that's what happened in the UEFA Champions League this week. Just one of the wild stories we're going to be talking about in this deep dive. You've given us a whole bunch of articles all about European soccer, everything from the nitty-gritty match results and player stats to even some bigger discussions about the impact of soccer in general.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff, right? We've got all the details on who scored those goals, who missed, but then also a chance to kind of zoom out, look at how soccer connects to bigger ideas, even social issues.
All right, so let's set the stage. We're in the final stages of the group stages for both the Champions League and the Europa League. The pressure is on. Every team is fighting to secure their spot in those knockout rounds.
Yeah, no doubt the tension is definitely there. Speaking of tension, let's talk about that PSG and Manchester City match. PSG were down 2-0 at halftime, looking pretty defeated. But then they turned things around in such a dramatic way. Scored 4 unanswered goals in the second half.
Yeah, it was such a comeback. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I read that their tactical shift in the second half was key. They put pressure on Man City by overloading the midfield, and then they really capitalized on those one-on-one opportunities they created out wide.
Exactly. Pep Guardiola, Manchester City's coach, even admitted that PSG's midfield overload really caused them problems. You know, it's a good reminder that even at that level, even with the best players and coaches in the world, those in-game adjustments can make all the difference.
It's like a game of chess, right?
Yeah.
Constantly adapting, strategizing. One player who really stood out in that match was Bradley Barcola. Not only did he cause chaos for Manchester City's defense with his speed and dribbling, but he also scored his first ever Champions League goal.
Pretty impressive, especially considering it was his first time scoring in the Champions League. You know, his performance really highlights something that Roy Hodgson, the UEFA technical observer, pointed out, the importance for young defenders to learn that balance between aggression and positioning.
Right, you want to be aggressive,
Yeah.
but not so aggressive that you leave your team vulnerable, like walking a tightrope.
Exactly. And Barcola exploited that really well. He was constantly putting those defenders in tough situations, making them choose step up and risk leaving space behind or hold back and maybe let him get past.
So PSG wasn't the only team making these dramatic comebacks. Do you remember that wild match between Barcelona and Benfica? So many goals, 9 in total. Barcelona ended up winning 5-4.
Oh, yeah. Another match just full of twists and turns. Barcelona was down 3-1 at halftime. So again, another example of a team that dug deep and just found a way to win. It's amazing to see how these top teams can weather those storms, you know? And then just unleash their full potential when it really matters.
The hero for Barcelona, again, was Raphinha. 2 goals, including the game winner. And his first goal was a header. I mean, you usually think of Raphinha as this speedy winger dribbling skills, not necessarily known for his heading ability.
Right. It shows that he's not just a one-trick pony. Adding new things to his game, you have to be versatile at that level to stay ahead of the competition.
And then there's Robert Lewandowski, as reliable as ever, scoring 2 penalty goals and solidifying his position as the tournament's top scorer with 9 goals.
A goal-scoring machine for sure. I just think he and Raphinha alone have scored 17 goals in the Champions League this season. That's more than some entire teams.
Incredible. And while we're on the subject of offensive powerhouses, we can't forget about Real Madrid. They had a much easier time cruising to a 5-1 victory against Salzburg.
Another dominant performance from Real Madrid. Vinícius Jr. was the star for them with 2 goals and showcasing his amazing dribbling skills.
Oh, it's like watching poetry in motion when he weaves through those defenders, like he's gliding. While these big-name clubs were playing, we also saw a great underdog story. Bologna got their first ever Champions League victory, beating Borussia Dortmund 2-1. A huge moment for Bologna making history on the biggest stage. Reminds us that even in a tough competition like the Champions League, anything is possible. And even though Borussia Dortmund lost, there was a pretty cool moment from Serhou Guirassy. He pulled off a Panenka penalty.
Yeah, for those who might not know, a Panenka is when a player chips the ball gently down the middle of the goal during a penalty kick. It's risky, takes nerves of steel, but when it works, oh, it's just pure class.
Yeah, it's all about deception and timing. Betting that the goalkeeper's going to dive to one side, leaving the middle open.
Yeah.
And when you pull it off, it's like an artistic statement on the pitch.
Definitely makes penalty kicks even more exciting. Speaking of excitement, Atletico de Madrid pulled off another comeback. They beat Leverkusen 2-1. And get this, they played with only 10 men for most of the match. Talk about resilience. Julián Alvarez was the hero for them, scoring both goals. This was actually the 8th time this season that Atletico de Madrid has come from behind to win with a late goal.
They just never give up. It's like they thrive under pressure.
Right.
Really incredible to watch. Okay, so we've talked about all the drama and excitement of the Champions League, but let's not forget about the Europa League.
Absolutely. The Europa League often gets overlooked, but there are some really great matches and incredibly talented players. It's a competition you don't want to miss.
One of the most exciting moments from Matchday 7 was thanks to Manchester United. They got a last-minute victory against Rangers. Bruno Fernandes scored the winning goal in added time.
Talk about a dramatic finish. It was also his 50th appearance in the Europa League, so what a way to celebrate. He's become their go-to guy in those clutch moments.
Yeah, he's like a magician with the ball at his feet, always finding a way to make things happen. Another player who had a great performance was Heung-min Son. He scored 2 goals to lead Tottenham Hotspur to victory against Hoffenheim.
Son's another one who just consistently performs at a high level. Speed, skill, and always seems to find the back of the net.
And then you had Lazio, who secured their spot in the round of 16 with a strong 3-1 win over Real Sociedad. Actually, they were the first team to officially advance in the Europa League, which shows how dominant they've been.
Yeah, they're playing with so much confidence and purpose. But in the midst of all this celebration and drama, the soccer world also took a moment to remember a true legend. Sadly, Greek midfielder Mimis Domazos passed away at the age of 83.
Yeah, a player who really left his mark on the game.
Yeah.
20 years with Panathinaikos. Even led them to their first and only European Cup final back in 1971.
He was an icon, a true leader on the pitch. Yeah. And his career, 538 appearances in the Greek top division, captaining Panathinaikos for 13 seasons. It says it all about his dedication and the impact he had.
It's a good reminder, even with all the excitement of modern soccer, we shouldn't forget those legends who paved the way. Their stories are part of the sport, and their legacy continues to inspire.
Beautifully said. And speaking of inspiration, let's talk about something a bit different. UEFA's initiative to combat digital addiction through football.
It might sound like a strange connection, but when you think about it, it makes sense, especially with all the concerns about the impact of digital addiction on young people, their mental and physical well-being.
Exactly. And what's interesting is that soccer offers a kind of natural solution. When you're on the pitch, running, passing, strategizing, you're fully engaged in the real world. No time for screens, no scrolling through social media.
Right. It's a break from all that digital stuff we're constantly bombarded with. And it's not just about limiting screen time. It's about those real-world connections getting active.
You're right. Soccer gives you a sense of community, teamwork, belonging. Those are things that can be hard to find in the digital world. It's about building those face-to-face relationships, learning to work together, and experiencing the joy of moving your body.
It's a win-win. You get the benefits of exercise, social interaction, and a break from the digital world.
Exactly. And it's encouraging to see that UEFA is taking this seriously. It's part of their Strength Through Unity sustainability strategy.
Yeah.
They even had a whole panel discussion about it at the World Economic Forum in Davos.
It's great to see a major organization like UEFA using their influence to address this. It sends a powerful message, shows that soccer can be a force for positive change, not just entertainment.
It really shows how sports can be a way to deal with some of these big problems in the world today. But let's get back to the games themselves. You know, we've been talking about those big names. But one player who really stood out to me in Matchday 7 was Georgi Sudakov from Shakhtar Donetsk.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading about him. He scored that important penalty, right? Helped his team get their second win of the group stage. I think it was against Porto.
That's right. But it wasn't just the penalty that impressed people. UEFA observers were really praising his balance, his ability to contribute both offensively and defensively. They called him like the glue that held Shakhtar's midfield together.
It's funny how sometimes it's those players who don't get all the attention, the ones who do all the hard work. They're actually vital to a team's success.
Absolutely. You need those players who are willing to put in the effort. The unsung heroes who make the system work. Speaking of unsung heroes, Davide Calabria from AC Milan came on as a substitute early in their match against Girona, and he really helped them get a shutout.
Yeah, I read that he made a ton of ball recoveries, something like 10 in total, with 4 of them in Girona's half. That's impressive for a defender.
Yeah, it shows he's anticipating well and getting into the right positions to win the ball back. He was solid for AC Milan. No surprise they kept a clean sheet with him on the pitch.
Like a wall. What about Federico Gatti from Juventus? I read that he seems really comfortable with the ball at his feet.
Good observation. He's not just clearing the ball. He's really involved in how Juventus builds their attacks. He had 13 deep progressions into the final third against Club Brugge.
Wait, deep progressions. For those of us who aren't soccer experts, can you explain what that means?
Sure. It basically means he's carrying the ball forward from defense into the attacking third, helping his team move up the field. It's not something you see a lot from center backs, but it can be super helpful, especially for teams who like to keep possession of the ball.
So it's not just about tackling and clearing, it's about being a playmaker from the back.
Exactly. And Gatti does both. He's strong in his own penalty area, but he can also start attacks with his passing and his ability to move the ball forward. It's a great combination.
Speaking of combinations, what about Wilfried Singo from Monaco? He scored the winning goal against Aston Villa, but I also read he had a great defensive performance.
He was all over the pitch. The UEFA Observer even commented on his one-on-one defending and how he helped Monaco build their attacks. Seems like he can do it all. Solid defensively, dangerous in attack, comfortable on the ball.
A complete player. I bet he made the UEFA Champions League Team of the Week.
He did, and it was a really impressive lineup with players from 11 different clubs. Shows you how much talent there is in the Champions League.
It's like the ultimate fantasy football team.
Oh, you could say that. Speaking of fantasy football, who wouldn't want Luuk de Jong from PSV Eindhoven on their team? He was leading the line in this week's Team of the Week, scored 2 headers from corners against Crvena Zvezda.
Classic de Jong. Always a threat in the air.
Absolutely. He's that classic target man, always dangerous in the box, especially on set pieces. But while de Jong was scoring goals, there was another player running the show in midfield who deserves a shout-out. João from Paris Saint-Germain.
Ah, yes. He scored his first ever Champions League goal in that amazing comeback against Manchester City.
That's right. And he wasn't just scoring, he was controlling the pace, making things happen in attack and defense. And get this, he's only 20 years old.
Wow, that's incredible. What a future he has ahead of him. And another young player making a name for himself, David Raum from Leipzig. He played a key role in their first victory of the group stage, setting up the opening goal with a beautiful cross.
Yeah, he earned his spot on the Team of the Week. And joining him on the left flank was Raphinha from Barcelona. He was instrumental in their dramatic win over Benfica, like we talked about.
He's quickly becoming a fan favorite at Barcelona. And we can't forget Justin Biglow, the goalkeeper for Feyenoord.
Oh, Biglow had a fantastic match against Bayern Munich. He kept his first ever clean sheet in the Champions League and made some incredible saves.
I bet he was busy. Bayern Munich is not an easy team to shut out.
Not at all. But Biglow was up to the challenge. He's a rising star, and that performance against Bayern will do wonders for his confidence.
Now let's talk about a player who's been consistently amazing all season. Vinícius Jr. from Real Madrid.
He just keeps delivering. 2 more goals against Salzburg, bringing his Champions League total to 7 for the season. No surprise, he's a regular on the Team of the Week.
His speed, his dribbling, it's mesmerizing. I can't even imagine what it's like for a defender trying to mark him.
I know, it must be a nightmare, like trying to catch a shadow. He's so elusive. And while Vinícius is known for his individual skill, there's another player on the Team of the Week who's more of a team player. Julián Alvarez from Atletico de Madrid.
The comeback king.
Exactly. He was the driving force behind their tough win over Leverkusen, scored both goals, and worked hard all over the pitch.
It's like he has a sixth sense for knowing where to be and when. Always in the right place at the right time.
It's uncanny. And to round out the Team of the Week, we have 2 more players who were crucial in their team's victories.
Okay, tell me, who are they?
First up, we have Vangelis Pavlidis from Benfica. Now, even though they lost to Barcelona, Pavlidis still managed to score a hat-trick.
A hat-trick even though they lost. That's got to be a strange feeling.
I'm sure it is, but it shows how good his finishing is, even when his team isn't playing their best. And last but not least, we have Victor Gyökeres from Sporting CP.
Gyökeres, yeah, he's been solid for them all season, right?
He has 6 goals in the Champions League so far, a really important part of their attack.
It's funny, we've been talking a lot about individual players, and they deserve the credit. They're the ones making the magic happen. But it's important to remember that soccer is a team sport.
Couldn't agree more. You need that team spirit, that understanding to be truly successful. And one team that really embodies that is Atletico de Madrid.
Yeah, their never-give-up attitude is incredible. It's like they refuse to lose.
It's a testament to their mental strength, their belief in their system, and their manager's ability to instill that fighting spirit. Speaking of teams that are playing well, you have to give credit to Barcelona. Their attacking trio of Lewandowski, Raphinha, and Yamal is a nightmare for any defense.
It's almost unfair. They have pace, creativity, goal-scoring ability. It's like they have it all.
And they seem to have that telepathic connection,
Yeah.
knowing where each other will be, making those quick passes that cut through defenses. It's beautiful to watch. But while some teams are doing great, others are still trying to find their rhythm in the competition.
Yeah, that's how it goes in any competitive sport, right?
Yeah,
Some at the top of their game, others still figuring things out.
exactly. Bologna, for example, they got that historic win against Borussia Dortmund. But they're still a little rough around the edges.
It's a big jump up from their domestic league. Takes time to adjust to the speed and quality of the Champions League.
Absolutely. It's a steep learning curve. But that win against Dortmund will have given them a huge boost. I'm sure they'll learn a lot from this experience.
And what about Borussia Dortmund? They usually do well in Europe, but they seem to be struggling this season.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mystery. They have some really talented players. But for some reason, they're not clicking as a team.
Maybe it's a confidence thing. Maybe they're still trying to find the right balance.
Hard to say for sure. But their manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, has his work cut out for him. While we've been focusing on the Champions League, let's not forget about the other UEFA club competitions.
Ooh, the Europa League is always full of surprises.
It is, and things are heating up as teams fight for those spots in the knockout rounds.
One team that's been really impressive in the Europa League is Lazio. They've already secured their spot in the round of 16, and they look like they could win the whole thing.
Yeah, they're playing some beautiful attacking soccer. Their manager, Maurizio Sarri, is known for that style, and it's working really well for Lazio.
And while Lazio is doing great, another team that's been quietly making progress in the Europa League is Manchester United.
They've had their ups and downs this season, but they're starting to find some consistency under their new manager, Erik ten Hag.
Yeah, that win against Rangers must have been huge for them.
It was especially that last-minute winner from Bruno Fernandes. He's really become their leader on the pitch.
Yeah, he's got that swagger, that confidence. You just feel like he can pull off anything.
Definitely not afraid of the big moments.
Mm.
But while Manchester United is finding its rhythm, another team that's been a bit up and down is Tottenham Hotspur.
They have the talent, for sure, but they haven't quite lived up to expectations.
They can beat anyone on their day, but then they also drop points against teams they should be beating.
Like they're missing that killer instinct, the ability to finish teams off.
Good way to put it. Their manager, Antonio Conte, is known for his tactical discipline. But it seems like he's still trying to figure out how to get the best out of this Tottenham team.
Well, it's still early in the season. Plenty of time to turn things around. You know what I love about these European competitions? It's not just about the big clubs. You often see lesser-known teams making a real impact.
Absolutely. One team that comes to mind is RFS from Latvia. They beat Ajax in the Europa League, which is no easy task.
Ajax is a huge name in European football. That's a massive result for RFS. It shows you that anything can happen.
Yeah, it's a reminder that in cup competitions, upsets are always possible. And for RFS, that's a win they'll never forget.
Speaking of memorable moments, it probably wasn't a good day for Porto fans.
No, it wasn't. They lost their fourth match in a row in all competitions, losing at home to Olympiacos in the Europa League.
4 defeats in a row. That's tough.
It is, and it's put their manager Sergio Conceição under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I bet the fans are not happy.
They're not, and they have a right to be. But football is a strange game. Things can change quickly. It'll be interesting to see how Porto bounces back from this. Now, before we wrap up our deep dive into European soccer, let's go back to the passing of Mimis Domazos.
Yeah, it's a loss that's been felt everywhere.
His impact on the game was huge. He was a true ambassador for Greek football, and his legacy will continue.
It reminds us that football is more than just a sport. It's a community, a family. And we lost a member of that family.
Well said. And his story shows us that even with all the competition and the desire to win, there's something deeper that connects us all.
That shared passion for the game. It goes beyond borders, languages, cultures.
And it's that passion that keeps us coming back week after week, year after year, to see all the drama, the skill, the heartbreak, the triumphs. It's what makes football so special.
It really is something special, you know. It's more than just about who wins or loses.
Yeah.
But, you know, thinking back to UEFA's initiative to combat digital addiction, it makes you think about the bigger picture.
What do you mean?
Well, it feels like people are starting to realize more and more that there could be downsides to all this digital stuff. Screen time, social media, the constant flood of information. And it seems like sports, particularly football, can offer a real alternative, a way to unplug.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think you're right. People are realizing they need balance. Can't be glued to our screens all the time, right? We need real human connection opportunities to get moving and interact with people face to face.
Exactly. And football gives you all of that and more.
Mm.
It's not just the physical activity, it's the teamwork, the friendships, the sense of belonging to something bigger than yourself.
Absolutely. And this idea of using football to address social problems isn't new. Think about how football has brought people together historically, breaking down barriers, helping communities come together.
Yeah, it's true. Football has this incredible power to connect people. It's like a universal language that everyone understands.
And UEFA's initiative is a perfect example of how football can be a force for good in today's world. It's not just about winning championships, it's about making a difference in society.
Using the power of this sport to tackle some of the challenges we face in this digital age.
Exactly. And it's not just UEFA either. We're seeing this all over the world of sports. More and more organizations are realizing that sports can help people be healthier and happier.
It's like a reminder that sometimes the simplest things can have the biggest impact. Like kicking a ball around with your friends.
It's about getting back to basics,
Right.
rediscovering the joy of moving, the excitement of competition, the feeling of working together.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into European football, I think it's clear that there's so much more to this sport than just what happens on the field. It's about the stories, the emotions, the connections, and the power to inspire.
Yeah, it's a sport that shows us all the different sides of life, a little slice of society, a place where dreams come true and legends are made.
And this has just been a glimpse. There's so much more to explore, to analyze, to talk about. But for now, we'll leave you with this. With all the technology changing the world around us, what role do you think sports like football will play in our future? How will they help us stay connected, stay active, and stay grounded in the real world?
That's a great question. And if you want to keep learning more about any of this, remember, you can always check out UEFA's website and all those articles.
There's a whole world of information out there waiting to be discovered. But for now, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into European football. We hope you enjoyed it.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep the passion for the beautiful game alive.